Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I mean, we'll see in a minute what the spells are. If there's a really aggressive spell, then a huge send on 11 or 12 is very likely.
The question is just whether this send would kill a team or not. And yeah, we got press the attack. So
Press the attack is nice. Just been nerfed only by 5 Mythium, but it's still a very powerful 70 Mythium boost for a big 11 or 12 send, right?
yes, it is. But I mean, on the other hand, like those really aggressive spells are only really oppressive when there's no defensive spell, and you got Pawn Shop, which is one of the best defensive spells.
Pawn Shop is amazing. I love Pawn Shop so much. It gives
Yeah.
you that ability, doesn't it, to just swap out your bad units for any given wave and put down the right ones.
Yeah, for example, Basti, if he sticks with the Bone Warriors, places a Bone Crusher, just sell it off on 10 or after 10, and you're fine. So
Yeah, exactly. As everyone knows, Graal is the most broken unit in the game, so if you can turn all of your units into Graal, then that's just amazing, right?
indeed, it is. Also, Vampire is not to be neglected because certain builds, like Nightmare builds, also some Warg builds, really do benefit from it, like in defense scenarios. So
Yeah. Although we see, so no one has a Nightmare for starters. No one has really any units that are that great with Vampire. Maybe Adams has the best role for a Vampire. He does have his Anglers, which obviously his like token unit. He's probably the best player in the game with Anglers. So, I mean, it's going to be a masterclass either way.
I actually do not think that the best Vampire role is on Animus. I think it's on Widderson because he's got Infiltrators as well as Wargs and Windhawks. So all of those units.
Oh yeah, he's got a really nice Warg roll actually, with both the Infiltrator and the Violet to boost the Lioness and sit with the
Yes.
Alpha Male at the same time. It's really good. A nice aggressive roll actually. You can see, apart from the egg, his most expensive unit is 90 gold. So I expect him to be really strong early, push quite hard, and then he still has that egg for like late game scaling, right?
Yes. Also, you gotta mention, I mean, the Sea Serpent seems somewhat counterintuitive, but the Lioness Alpha Male combo is just so tanky, and if you can like deny a 4-Eyes send against that, it's huge.
Oh yeah,
Also
actually that's a really good point.
against
That's the best send
Hydra.
against a Warg combo, right? Like Warg and Violet, you want to send 4-Eyes. But if he has that Serpent at the back line picking things off, then you're right, that's a really, really good combo.
The only thing that I can really see being a problem for Widderson will be wave 15, because wave 15 he's gonna be garbage no matter what he does.
Yeah, he hasn't re-rolled yet, has he? We see Bonny, I think, has already re-rolled, and I'm not sure about his role, to be honest. I mean, he's got the Leviathan, which is a great unit, but the only thing he has to pair with it is a Buzz.
Indeed, that's a bit sad. Also, like, the Millennium isn't that great. I mean, I just don't see carry units in Bonnie's role besides maybe a Leviathan or if in case he wants to play the Wargs in it. So that's somewhat underwhelming.
Yeah, underwhelming, I think is right. And look at this, identical sends coming out across the board, Dragon Turtles all around. So already the team's choosing to go for income rather than heavy sends, which I'm not sure, because I think Bonnie would leap pretty hard to a Brute here. Like, he's got 300 value, but everything he has is weak on 3.
Depends. I think it comes down to targeting, and I mean the Consort really does good damage on 3, even though its typing its types don't mash up that well. But I think he wouldn't have leaked that bad. But it obviously it depends on focus. But I mean, you see Bonnie's wave splitting pretty good with the Tempest and the Consort, so I don't think it would have been a big problem. Maybe a small one.
Yeah.
Also, want to
I mean,
point out
he's down to his last unit pretty much here with just the Dragon Turtle send. I think a Brute could have done some work.
I'm not so sure, but
maybe not enough. Maybe not enough to make it worth skipping income for.
yeah, I think like maybe he leaks the Brute and 2 Froggos, and that's not worth it. Also interesting is Basti's start, because I mean you usually do not see that many starts like that. No, not so many Desert Pilgrim starts. Which I mean, I tried them. I tried the shit out of it, and it just doesn't work. Like you can't even push on 5 workers if you get 20 on 1, and it's utterly garbage.
But his positioning with it is perfect though. If you look on the Desert Pilgrim, the Warg is exactly on the outside of his range to split the aggro perfectly. Just watch now when the wave hits it. Just splitting the aggro perfectly between those 2 units.
I mean, you can split like he placed it like 1.5, I guess. No, it's a half. It's half a square behind. No, it's one square behind the Desert Pilgrim. If I'm not 1.5 squares behind it. So usually you can go for 1.5, and 2 squares. It all works. But I mean, especially early game, you usually want to do 2 squares, like 2 empty squares between them, because then the Desert Pilgrim did tanks more, which you usually need until like maybe wave 8. Wave 8 it kills you because it's a ranged wave. But besides that, you usually want to have the Desert Pilgrim tank more in the early game.
Yeah, true. When do you send if you're Bonny and Basti? Would you go 6? Because Adams looks really weak on 6, but at the same time, Widderson looks really strong there. So do you try and go for 7?
I think they're gonna try 7 because just Widderson doesn't look that great, and I think they'll mostly
Yeah.
play
Adams
off
will
of,
have a full stacked cap by 7, so he won't be terrible, but everything else he has is really weak there.
Yeah, but also the thing is, like, I think they're gonna play to suit whatever Bonny wants to do. Like, I think their plan is to break Widderson and just have Bonny be strong enough to sustain Adam Ascents. But no, they're gonna send here on 6.
Yeah, I think it might be the right play against Adams. He does look really bad here, but he's going to be way overbuilt, right? Look at his value.
Yes.
650 he'll be when he finishes spending.
I mean, he's on 5 workers.
Yeah.
But he sent the Cannoneer during income, so that's also not that bad. Also, you gotta point out...
He's on 5
Adam
workers, but he's got the highest income in the game.
Yes, also another point, he has looters, and looters are not bad on 6. They're actually pretty darn good.
Yep.
Question is where his damage will come from. Also, a huge thing to point out is that he just received 100.
Oh, look at that brute getting sniped, like the first unit to die. That's so unlucky.
The second one, that he's in a DT.
Oh, yeah. But look at Bonny, though.
Well, I think he about holds.
Yeah, he's holding. He got like the perfect aggro split. That's what I mean.
But the thing is that Basti is trying to hard in there.
Oh, Basti, no, that's really unfortunate. So this is the classic wave 6 aggro at the moment, where it's just so RNG, and if your units are going to focus different Roccos like this, you're screwed.
Yeah.
We see tiny leaks coming out from Widderson, which is neither here nor there really, and Adams is going to hold that. Meanwhile, some pretty big ping damage over here against Bonny and Basti.
I mean, also the thing to point out is that Basti received 120. Like he received what probably would have killed Adamas. Like 2 brutes might kill him, but like the DT and the brute didn't do it. So maybe sending an income send on Basti's side would have been a call, because he just had no damage on this wave, and
yeah. So send income and try and hold the wave yourself, maybe.
Yeah, I think it would have been, especially since Adamas didn't push that much. So you know it, like you see his value, so you kind of know that he didn't push that much, so it might have been worth it. But
well, even after getting all of that gold, he's still way overbuilt for 7, just because he knows how weak the bounty hunter is, right? So I expect him to kind of stay low workers until he gets his first kingpin on 9, and then he's just going to push to the moon.
Actually, I think the reason he stayed on low workers was because he wanted to place down the second bounty hunter. He didn't even full upgrade the cat. So
I see. So it can keep getting the stacks, right? Because it was at 75. Got you.
Yeah, exactly. 74. I think it was on wave pre-wave 6. So I think he's just going for the full greed and trying to have 2 kingpins out as soon as possible to end this early. But
so when do Bonny and Basti... Oh, they do go now. Okay, I was going to say, I don't like them going 9 because he's guaranteed to have a kingpin there. So try and send here and undercut that to, break in before he can afford the kingpin.
But I gotta say, I'm a bit worried about Basti's 10, because the Cannoneer and the Snail, I think that Adamas' defense is just gonna eat the wave alive.
Yeah, it will. I mean, what would you prefer? Maybe 2 brutes? 2 brutes and a snail?
It's hard, because I mean, there is just no good scent against him here. Maybe even a Dino and a Fiend. I don't know. Like, it just the problem is the cat. Maybe, probably a dino and a brute.
I mean, the Cannoneer's not bad, right? 'Cause it does give him some damage that he needs against that cat. Like, if you leave it to the wave, I mean, the cat's going to clean up anyway. It looks like an easy hold. But the Cannoneer's at least giving him a chance to kill the cat.
Yes, but the thing is, even if the cat's dead, there are still 2 bounty hunters which do deal not so bad damage, and everything got lifesteal. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess Adams will leak, but like just the Cannoneer, which is totally fine for them. They'll take a little bit of king damage, but then look at their Mythium, right? They're nearly on 200 each, so they can probably send ogres on 9 if they want to.
indeed.
And 9 does look really appealing against Bonny and Basti.
Yes, it does. I mean, the thing is, even though serpents or like deep coils are not good on 9, like regarding their defense and attack types, but they are not that bad because they like perfectly 4-shot them. So they are okay-ish, especially considering that Basti has quite some frontline to pair them with. But I mean, he's got 3 serpents. They're gonna be dead value anyways. He's got an alpha male, so. And we can
Bonny
see
does add
Leviathan.
the Millennium here, which is really good damage on 9. So maybe that will save him. But I don't know. Look how far forward it is. Does that just die like to the ogre like immediately?
I think so, because I mean, Leviathans are also ranged. They're not going to tank for the Millennium.
Yeah, I mean, he's fixed his split, so he's put a boss a little bit higher up here, which might pull the ogre. But if that ogre goes on the Millennium, he's just screwed here.
Yes, indeed.
The buzz pulled it. Okay, perfect.
The question now is whether the wave is going to go forward, which parts of it did and parts of it went to the back line. But that's going to be... well, okay, the ogre is just chooses to kill everything besides the Millennium, so that's like perfect RNG from Bonny.
Yeah, so he's leaking, but it could have been a lot worse, right?
Agreed.
And we see a pretty big leak coming out from Basti as well. So a couple of, what, 50, 60, 70% leaks?
Yeah, 50 would, yeah.
I mean, this is going to take the king down to, what do you think, 30, 40%? Both of those ogres are pretty much full HP.
I mean, one's damaged, they got 2 regen upstairs. Oh, there's Immolate, so Immolate's just going to be useless. I think it's going to be, like, even below 35, like, yeah, it's going to be hard.
Oh, wow, that is a lot. Basti says he doesn't know why the ogre went to the right-hand side. I think the answer is his peewee. So if you see this front peewee here, it did exactly the same thing that Bonny's boss over here did. So the peewee ran forward when the ogre came in. It would have started going to the left towards the pilgrim, but as soon as that peewee gets far enough forward, the ogre just turns right and goes into that as well. So for Bonny, it saved him, and I guess for Basti, it screwed him over because it meant the ogre went straight onto that bunk and just did crazy damage against it.
Agreed, but that's a thing with the inexperience, because if you know you're playing a ranged unit on your left side, your right hand split can't be on the can't be a usual split usually. I mean, it depends. Some ranged units do work with it, but Desert Pilgrim has got too much range, so it's gonna be pulled to the right side. So I think that's a bit of inexperience showing.
Yeah. Did you see Widderson's egg placement here? So it started off not tanking, and the boss killed a warg straight away. But then it went onto the egg, which I think is really lucky, because if that lived here, he could have been in trouble.
Well, actually I don't think so. Because even if Widderson leaks 80% of the wave, it's just gonna carry Adamas further.
Yeah, I mean, actually, looking now, it definitely wouldn't have meant any trouble, because Bonny's just spent all of his Mythium on king upgrades, right? So, what do you think these guys are doing? Are they going to income here and then try and go 14?
I think they're gonna income here and try to go 15. Like I think they have to go like big times. I mean they've seen a Violet by now, which kind of is well hard for them, but I think they have to go for a crazy long save. So I think they're just gonna take all the income they can get and just go along. But you can see Adamas and Widderson also upgrading their king, so
they are a little bit scared of this wave.
They are, but they shouldn't be. I mean, Adamas is gonna hold it just every time, every day of the week. He's got gate guards which tank like with their summons because of the overkill, because it's a ranged wave.
And he's got that kingpin with vampire now, so it's just so strong on this wave.
Like he's that thing's not gonna die soon. So
Kingpin
I
with
think
41% lifesteal. I mean, look, every time it hits, it's healing itself for 100 damage.
yeah. So I think like the reason they went for the king ups probably is because they thought they can't like break him here, and they wanted a bit of income. I mean, it's the right call for Adamas to make because it just puts pressure on Bonny and Basti because they sent king ups as well, but sent more king ups, and now they're kind of screwed because they're under pressure against a stronger opponent, and the only tiny bit that's working for them is their income, and they're just a bit ahead there. So I
Yeah,
think Bonny and Basti are just screwed, to be honest. I just
I
can't
I
see
do like this
like
egg
the
drop from
turning point.
Basti. I do like the egg drop, so he knows he's safe here, and he's playing that to be stronger on 13. So I think that's a good play.
I think it kind of is, but I'm not so sure whether 13 really is the problem and his main point of concern.
Yeah, they could go 14 against them, even with the Millennium, just because, I mean, obviously the Millennium is strong on 14, but every other unit is weak.
Yeah, and he's got no tanks. Like, Bonny has shown basically no tank for now.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the Leviathan, sure. So Leviathan and Millennium, great damage on 14, really good damage. But he has nothing to keep the wave off those units because all of his front line is natural.
And the funny thing is we can see Widderson leaking here, and that's actually super great. I wonder whether that's been called. Probably is, because considering he's got like no damage on this wave.
Yeah, I think that's intentional. I think he's pushed. I mean, look at his value. He's on 1600 value for wave 12.
Yeah, I gotta agree. That's what I think as well. I think it was called for to be a pro league because they want to send here.
Okay, here come the wave 13 sends.
Interesting.
So we have got a Doomsday for Bonny, which is really good. And Adams is sending him a 4 Eyes. So what happens here is the 4 Eyes should focus the Doomsday, which is really good for Bonny. It will tank it for years.
Also, I mean, it kind of is good, but it's kind of also bad because the typing wise, the 4 Eyes just doesn't kill off the Doomsday. But it would have been better if the 4 Eyes would have, I mean, for Adamas to shred everything else, and then the whole wave would just kill the Doomsday. But also on the other hand, like Doomsday, just I mean.
Oh no! Did you see that? The Doomsday did like a little hop step forward after killing the snail, and now it's getting destroyed by the wave. That's so unlucky. Yeah. I don't think that should happen, but I think that's going to cost Bonny. Like, from he probably would have leaked anyway, but he would have leaked a lot less than this. And I wanted to point out a really nice play that Basti did as well before the wave, actually. So you saw they both took Pawn Shop, right? He sold his Banana Haven. So that still cost him a lot of gold because it's a 700 gold unit. It cost him 70 gold to do that. But he swapped his Banana Haven for a Phoenix, and that lets him hold here.
Yeah, especially a Phoenix with a healer, like with that Pilgrim. Yeah. Also, there won't be a there won't be a 4 Eyes send, so he kind of expected a Centaur here, so that was a great play by him. And
so I think also, a couple of things to point out on this wave. One, really bad luck for Bonny to have that Doomsday start a step forward. But two, really great play from Basti. I think Basti saved their game here with that Haven into Phoenix play.
I mean, the point is, I think that it was somewhat intentional because the snail spawns so far up that when it gets killed, it probably, like, the rest of the wave isn't in range of the Doomsday, so I kind of understand why it moved there. That's the problem with Bonny's 3D placement, that things like that can happen and then a snail can put off your whole build.
Yeah. I think if I was Bonny, I'd be absolutely raging after that. I'd be so mad.
And the problem is, I mean, we know Bonny, and I mean, if that would have happened in a normal ranked game, he'd be tilted. Like,
hopefully he can keep his cool in a ranked game. And look at this. So the income sends here and the king ups show that Adams and Widderson are scared, and they should be, because look at the Mythium here on Bonny and Basti. Now they've got strong value, I guess, and they have Phoenix on Adams with lifesteal, but I think these sends are going to be really hard for them to handle.
But the thing is, as long as they don't die here, like as long as Adamas and Widderson don't die here, they win the game.
Yeah, I mean, look at their income, right? They have 100 income each, more than the other team. Oh, Basti's pro league. They're loving that.
Really is a pro league.
That is a pro league. These sends are going to be huge on wave 15.
And not just that, but also, I mean, since Adamas and Widderson sent, so that's the perfect pro league. Like, it's gonna take forever to clear it, just because just the Doomsday is alive.
Yeah.
Um,
And they have
Bonny
no
and
Mythium to
Adamas,
punish it on Adams and Widderson either. So even
yeah,
though Bonny and
right.
Basti are way undervalued, they should hold wave 15.
Yeah, considering a Doomsday and a Phoenix, like Adamas and Widderson just sent, like, if there wouldn't have been a resend on 14 by Adamas and Widderson, that wouldn't have been a good play. But since they resend, it's like the perfect play to do.
Yeah, and look at the size of these sends. So we've got double Shaman, we've got Hermit and Lizards. I guess the Lizards are there to try and protect the Shaman in case he adds a Coiler, say, here to snipe it. But he hasn't done yet. So Widderson's got 565 gold here. Let's see how he spends it. He's going to have to spend it very wisely, otherwise he's in trouble.
I mean, I think the play, is for sure the Infiltrator.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, he's full
Infiltrator.
boosting. Okay, so that is a good play.
Agreed. Maybe even boost Pewee enough. Like
He's shifted 45 gold here.
Yeah. I think that's a misplay. I mean, it is for sure a misplay, but I think it's an
It's probably a
one,
panic.
right?
You know, like they're talking about what to do. They're planning this and that, and he just didn't have time to spend all of his gold.
Agreed. Totally agreed. But the thing is, as long as they don't die here, they win the game.
And look at this. Adams is killing his boss.
Yeah.
So his high split on the right there just meant that all of his high damage units could get straight on the boss before clearing the little octopuses. And that's a huge hold.
Yeah, that's a pretty big hold. Like, I mean, the Kingpin was almost dead, but he healed up. The Phoenix is still alive. Because it tanked the Shaman. It's
meanwhile,
perfect.
Bonny leaked to the income send.
I mean, that's not that too bad, especially since a 15 now gives partial kill bounty. But
yeah, true.
As I said, as long as Adamas and Widderson don't die, and even if they drop to 10% HP, they would still win the game because they're so big and they're like way stronger than Bonny and Basti.
Oh no, Bonny's resending here. He sent a Hermit. I don't know. I really don't like that. I mean, you've got no chance of making them leak really on 16. I mean, Widderson has full pushed. But even that, I mean, Hermit, what's the Hermit for? He has no AoE damage.
I think it's just, he's going to go with the Hermit and the Mole.
This might work. I mean, look, Adams and Widderson have both full pushed here. So you can see they've barely added anything from that wave 15 hold. So maybe it does some damage. But I don't think enough to win the game.
The point is, look at Bonny's and Basti's value. They also full pushed. I think they want to try to force an end on 16 or 17.
Yeah. I mean, Adams has got two nearly full stacked Kingpins. So their armor type's weak here. But look at that. Look at the lifesteal on them. 270 just from a normal hit, 570 from a kill.
And also the Doom, I mean, they just died to it.
Yeah. So they probably wouldn't have died, but or maybe they would actually. They had no King spell. But they just knew the game was over at that point.
I think they died. Yeah, it was. I mean, the game was over. They were so far behind. They probably would have died, especially since Emulate wasn't upgraded. And things like that. So I think it's just... I mean, they tried to all-in 16, which could have worked in a way where Adamas isn't fed as fuck. Yeah. I mean, well...
Yeah, I think this kind of comes down to Basti's leak on 6, you know, because that's where the game really started shifting for Adams and Widderson, right? So the 83% leak there. I mean, he was weak there. He was weak there.
But just look at the values. I mean, other players are holding with almost the same value, or even lower, or like hold way better. And I mean, you can't tell me that Bonny's typing is that good on this wave, because I mean, he's got like Tempest, which are not good, and like that's the point. It kind of sucks. I think
the consorts are pretty good on 6, though. The consorts are good on 6. Like they don't do much attack damage, but when they die, that spell is like half of a Rocco's life. So that problem you have with wave 6, like splitting damage, actually works in consort's favour, because a half HP Rocco dies if it kills a consort.
Agreed. But also, yeah, well, I mean, I hate wave 6. Like, when I was grinding ladder like a month ago, I was synonymous for a time for just leaking Wave 6 with everything. I could have Nightmare Butcher and leak Wave 6 big times, because sometimes I'm a bit lucky and sometimes I'm not so lucky, and Wave 6 RNG or Focus RNG is like a shit show. I think it's really terrible. It's one of the worst things in the game. Like Wave 6.
Yeah, Wave 6 RNG is just so... It's really bad at the moment. It feels bad, doesn't it? Like, when you know you can hold, and you just leak 50% plus, and all of the units have got 20% HP, it's just a really bad feeling.
And that's the problem. Like it has always been a problem with waves with low amount of units, that you can just, like, you lose so much gold. For example, on wave 7, even if you have very bad RNG, you still kill off some units. But on wave 6, you can literally like leak 100%, maybe even to a no cent, because everything's on, I don't know, 100 HP, and you lose so much gold by that. So it's hard.
Exactly. The lobby's open, by the way.
Yeah, I'm coming. I was just looking for further insight for how the series is gonna go.
So how do you think this goes now after seeing that game? Because to me, that game looked like Adams and Widderson were ahead from early on and then stayed in the lead. I mean, Bonny and Basti had a really... I think they made the right play, right? That 15 cent was definitely the right play. Yeah, but Adam's hold there was just huge. Right? As soon as he holds that wave 15 cent, it's pretty much game over, right?
I think it was game over before that. I mean, the fact that Animus rerolled into the Fire Lord just won him the game. Like, I mean, it didn't win him the game, but it took every chance of losing the game if played correctly. Because 15 was his only weak wave, or his only really seriously bad wave, so, or 13 as well, but he covered both of them. So
yeah, the Fire Lord was a huge pickup for him.
And I think the problem was actually, I mean, you can see only one player not playing scared in this sense. Like, the only one who sent 120 on 6 was Widderson, because he pushed the worker more. And I think that's a very underrated point. That, I mean, everyone wants to play safe in a tournament environment, but sometimes you just gotta greed. I mean, it's like so it's just like when we lost against you. If I would have greeded like what I usually do, we probably would have better chances winning the game than when we had just like we did. So I think it comes down to not play scared. And I think that is actually pretty important.
Sorry, I'm just flaming Adams for calling us lazy when I said ready about 2 minutes ago.
I know, I read it. I'm a fortunate human being. I can read and talk as well.
That's a skill. It's a life skill, mate.
It is.
Okay, so different game. From minute 1, different game. There is no offensive spells.
From minute 0, because all of the spells are pretty situational. Like, there are builds that can't.
They're all defensive, right? They're all spells that buff your lineup. So,
but
I reckon this game either ends early or it goes late. Because I don't see people winning on 11 or 12 when all 3 spells are big buff spells. So I think we're either going to see like a victory pre-10 or on 10, or it goes like quite late.
I mean, it's funny because just look at them. Like, Protector can be used by pretty every build, but like there are builds that don't use Magician, and there are builds that don't use Vampire. So that's kind of interesting.
Adams has his Angler again, so I wonder if we see him use that. I expect that we do. He's rerolled actually. In fact, yeah, he has rerolled.
I think like the fact that his tier 1 is a mask and his tier 2 is a gargoyle.
He's full rerolled. He has 0 income.
Yeah, and I think he's still not happy because
it doesn't look like the best roll. I mean, he's got the Angler, but yeah, like you say, it's not a really good roll to support the Angler.
But he plays it.
It's a damage, right? He's got to play it.
Did you see whether he used the in-game reroll already?
I think no. I think all of that was in his original roll.
Because I wonder when he's going to use it. since I mean he could pretty much just roll out the Angler right now if he chooses to.
Yeah.
But I think he's gonna wait for the gargoyle value to drop off as well.
Yeah, I think that he probably wants the gargoyle to try and protect him on some of those weak waves. Basti has quite a nice role for magician. I'd like maybe something a little bit better than a gate guard to use the mana with. Do you know what I mean? Like it's good, but then if he's trying to build mass with Steed and Gateguard, he needs something really tanky to stand in front of it, right?
Yeah, because otherwise the Centaur is just going to shred him, and that's, I mean, you can do it with Havens and Millenniums if you go for the really good 3D placement, but I don't know. Also, a thing I want to point out, I don't know whether you know it, but the ultimative Fiesta start you can do with Looters and Windhawk. Do you know it? Like you go for double Pack Rat on wave 1, and you just place down a Windhawk and a Looter, and you leak on wave 1 either 2 or 3 creeps, depends on RNG.
Well, then you send a Brute on 2.
Yeah, and then you can basically send, if your teammate slow clears, you can send 60 on 2.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
But, I mean, he didn't do it, so he played a bit scared, he played a bit more traditional, he played to place his Violet on 3, which is not bad by any means.
We've got the wave 3 income send coming out again from everyone apart from Madams, who did send a king upgrade.
Bonny had to do the income send here, otherwise he wouldn't have gotten his Violet.
Yeah.
I mean, selling 2 Looters isn't that bad either, but I mean, I wonder what's happening in Bonny's and Basti's team, because I mean, a Dragon Turtle on 2 into a Bounty Hunter is never gonna leak him. Like,
yeah. I think he just wanted the income, right?
I think he did, but I mean, that's actually somewhat forces a starved game, like already, because his next real opportunity to send is 5 or 6. Like, I mean, maybe
I don't think he goes 6 now. Now with Adam's already having the Infiltrator, I think if you send 6, that's kind of a throw, right? You need to go 7. So maybe he tries income some way between now and 7, and then goes hard 7.
But on the other hand, like, there is a mask in play. Like, if you can just get an upgraded mask on wave 6, wave 7 is going to be no problem because the Bounty Hunter is tank for it.
Yeah.
Also, interesting.
And then it rages 7 as well, which covers him on his weak wave. I think that's a really nice play.
Yeah.
So if he tries to get the Hellraiser on 6, it's a great tank there, and then it's fantastic damage on 7.
Also, his placement works out because the mask is gonna tank on wave 6, about 2 or 3 rockers. So
it looks like Widderson shift clicked this snail here to try and send it on 4, didn't get it in time, and now he's just going to feed Basti on 5 instead. And that snail would have given him a really big leak actually, because look at this, he's leaking already just to the Dragon Turtle. So that snail could have made this, 10-20% higher.
Yep, indeed it would, because the Dragon Turtle would have survived and it would have been really great DPS on this wave, so... Whoa. Also look at Bonny's send. Bonny's sending 2 Dragon Turtles on 5 against Serpent and Antler, which is understandable.
Yeah, I mean, I think he doesn't have good damage for 5, right? But that Antler's going to survive for days.
I think it's going to come down to when the Sea Serpent is going to get focused. And, well, the answer, or Widderson's answer for 5 is not that bad, because in case he just needs to burst down the king. Like, that's the main damage source on wave 5.
Do you think he boosts? He's going to boost, right? He's going to put the 4 boost on it just to kill that king quickly.
I mean, he has...
Adams is boosting, so Adams expects a send here.
Yeah, but Widderson, I mean, that's...
He's not boosting. That's quite greedy, I think.
It's not greedy, it's just not necessary. I mean, it would have been a different story if he wouldn't have had the money, but he had the money. He didn't have to sell off a T1 or consider not placing one, but...
Oh, he says he couldn't see it, so he might have had the visual bug, where you can't click on your unit. Oh, that sucks. You don't want to leak away due to a visual bug.
I think it still works out. I think it still works out, because...
And maybe it just saved him 4 gold. He might hold anyway.
I mean, the funny thing is that the thing that he didn't boost his Infiltrator kind of saved him because it helped tank for the Antler and it tanked the DT, I think. So the DT didn't shred through the Antler, so I think it was actually the right play.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Basti does leak to a 60 income send.
But he is on 7 workers and he was on 7
Yeah,
workers.
he's super
prior
low
to
value here, so he was being greedy. I guess he probably shifted a bit of gold to try and get this Harbinger as well.
I think he did. Because that's its best anti. On the other hand, no, he's
But he
got
can't
better
afford
anti-
it now. He can't afford it now. So either he
But-
didn't shift or what did he do? Because that's a mistake, right? To leak so much on 5 and then not have enough gold for the Harbinger on 6.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, and I mean, even though the gate card or like the Harbinger would have scaled way better, I don't think it was necessary to greed for it. Like, if you would have placed the second gate guard for wave 5, you can still somewhat consider it okay on 6. And I mean, I think actually it is a slight misplay.
Yeah, and a damn send in here, hoping to catch Bonny being greedy. But luckily, Bonny kept all of his pack rats on the field, so that should save him here.
Whoa! Does it really? I mean, the Fiend's did pretty big work because it tanked for ages.
Yeah, look at Basti here. So he didn't get that Harbinger and he's paying for it. Look at this leak, it's huge.
Yeah, and Bonny won't be able to hold it. Like,
Yeah,
he'll slight hold it, but
he holds himself, but he's not going to hold this leak. So we're going to see king damage again on wave 6 for B squared.
Yeah, and also the Violet casted to kill off the last rock on Bonny's lane, so he didn't even cast against the leaked send.
Oh yeah, that's really big.
Indeed it is, and it's still looking like the machine is rolling for Adamus and Widderson, because, I mean, they're ahead on workers, they're ahead on value, they're ahead on basically everything right now.
But here we see the classic send, Brutes on 7, name a more iconic duo.
Kind of hard, but on the other hand, like, I mean, value is
Look
so
at
big
Adam's
for
value,
Adamus.
over 800.
Yeah. And he's not even, like, behind on workers, he's on the same worker amount that Bonny and Basti are. So if they don't leak big here, they probably should be fine. I mean, it's interesting. Widderson choosing to go for a 3rd Sea Serpent instead of upgrading his cat.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that play, but maybe good. Maybe that Antler just survives long enough for them to clear up the split. It looks like it's working.
I don't think it is, actually, because if the cat would have been upgraded, it would have sniped the Brute big times. I mean,
Yeah,
okay,
but everything on the left is already dead by the time the split rejoins.
Yeah, but I think he maybe even had the chance to full hold.
I mean, he's not far off. He's going to leak a couple of sludges.
Yeah. But also too big. I mean, I think
Yeah, decent sized leak on Adams. Okay, so we see some equalising damage now. This should take them down to around 80% as well, so we should be kind of tied on King HP after this. But then look at the workers in the Mythium saved up for Adams and Widderson.
Yeah. That's a big point. I mean, they were in the same workers as Basti and Bonny and Basti, even after they sent on 6. Like, and Bonny and Basti just didn't. Like, that's huge. They were in the same worker amount prior to receiving a send.
Yeah, and here come the wave 8 sends, but I mean, this is just pure food for Bonny. Look, he has his banana bunk here, which should clean that up quite nicely. Although, does it? Because everything else he has is really bad on this wave. Okay, rogue wave. Okay, easy hold. Easy hold.
Like, the rogue wave's big, because, I mean...
And a bunk added for Basti as well.
Damage. It just... That's huge. It's the perfect play there.
Yeah, really good build there by both Bonny and Basti, actually. And if they hold these sends, they're actually in a really good position again.
But I don't think that Basti holds. Like, his bunk full tanked. I mean, okay, you know, he's got the steeds to tank off everything else.
He has no damage though. As soon as that bunk dies, so there goes all of his damage for this wave.
Yeah, but I mean, everything's low by then, and he just sustains the wave, I think. Okay, so
he's going to leak, but it's not going to be too bad. And then Bonny will clear all of this up in the mid, so it's no king damage. And look, they can both push workers now.
But even if they're, I mean, you can see them pushing, and they're still not over pushing Adamus and Widderson. That's the same point between wave 6 and 7. Even after receiving a send, they're not over pushing them, which is like
When do you
not a good
send?
sign
Do,
for them.
do you try the wave 11 anyway, just because they both look kind of weak there?
Phew, that's a hard call. I don't think so. I don't think I should, because the infiltrators are pretty good value there, and the fists are a good value there, and
I mean, the serpents are dead on 11, so it's good against them. But yeah, I mean, he's got these antlers and the oathbreakers, and the dams will have a
But the,
kingpin.
po- the point is that even though like serpents are dead on 11, but having serpents there is better than having deep coilers there. Funnily enough, because it's a ranged wave and it tends to overkill units.
Yeah, true. Good point.
So I'd rather have like 3 serpents instead of a deep coil there.
But then when do they send? Because there's no way they can send 10. Both players are far too strong there. I think
I think
it,
I think
it's
I
hard.
think they're doing it. I think it's the problem also is like having an antler standing there with a protector, maybe even a white mane, is also like it's so big there. I mean, Widderson is.
They are sending on 10. But I think this is just food. I think both players clean this up easily.
I mean, you can see that Adamus shifted. Maybe they thought that Adamus like wouldn't shift for the kingpin, but I think you can't expect that. Like, it's a kingpin player. He's pretty bad on 10. Like, every gargoyle is no value there. The masks are no value there. The infiltrators are just bad meat shields. The Yozora is okay, but besides that, like, it was to be expected that he would have a kingpin there. So
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, this is a dams. He knows when to upgrade his kingpin, and it is going to help him here. Now, Bonny's done quite a nice play. He sold 2 little rats and got his banana haven, and that is going to save him here, I think, because he was in trouble without that. Basti, I think, can leak. I think Basti probably will leak quite a bit here.
Well, it depends on the focus. I mean, the good thing is that the king now kills off every small unit, and if he gets the resummon, it doesn't look that bad. Yeah, he gets even the gate gets resummon, so I think that's not that bad. I think he holds because he should do. He should hold.
He's going to leak, but small.
Oh yeah, he doesn't get the resummon. Like that's bad, but I mean he just small leaks.
I thought it would be quite a bit more than that, to be honest. Bonny holds, but his haven died quite quickly, and it was a lot closer than I thought it would be. So he's not going to hold all of this. Maybe he does, because the boss is so
I think
low.
he does. Also, there's a pack red. Like that's just.
No, it's going through to King, but King will kill that before it takes any damage.
King would have even killed it without attacking. Like.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I just don't see an out for Bonny and Basti again. Like they're too far behind. Their roles are not comparable. I mean, just look at it. I mean, like Adamus is on a Yozora on a front line as well as a Kingpin, Infiltrators, and a Soul Gate. Like
I think Bonny's late game role is actually really good. I think the Aquas with Violet spells and with Haven Reflect is pretty powerful. Plus he has the masks. So don't underestimate the DPS that those masks will do.
I thought about Bonny's role, and that's not Bonny's role is not the problem. Especially also he's got considering he's got Hydras, which are also like great late game units. The point is that Basti is just dead. Like,
yeah.
Basti will keep falling off, and as soon as like Widderson is able to send a mole, a hermit, and a centaur, like there won't be any stopping the leakage.
Yeah, and I don't know when you can even send against Adams and Widderson. They're not really presenting any weak waves. I mean,
think
15, I guess,
yeah.
But even then, they've got the infiltrators on both.
Yeah, but like in case you can send a tank or at least some DTs to tank it off, like I think it's not that bad.
We see the Ogre's coming out here. I mean, what do you think about this? Because Bonny's good value, and he has a Haven. So the Ogre, good against a Haven, obviously, but he's got the mask, he's got the Rogue Wave boosting all of his DPS.
It's actually a pretty poor call. Considering
I think Basti will leak, right? So Basti will leak, and it might just be a case of them wanting to keep him down. So Basti should leak, I think, pretty hard here, actually.
Indeed he does, but I mean, the point is, yeah, I mean, they can just snowball off if it probably is the right call. But, like, I mean, he saw that Bonny placed down the egg for 10. for 11, and that it died. So like he should never leak here. So
No, not with
kinda,
that Protector Haven, right? It's just so strong here.
yeah, especially considering that he's actually has the opportunity to kill off the Split and the Ogre and survive.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, the Haven's staying alive. That's huge. So Basti's going to leak a lot, but Bonny
But he
should
killed
hold
off
most or all of it in the mid.
and also Basti killed off the Brute.
That's pretty lucky focus for him, I think. Like if they don't, because it's the right typing as well. All of his damage is impact. So for the impact units to focus the fortified ogre, 1 gives him a lot of gold for killing it, 2 reduces the DPS he's taking, and 3 it's the right matchup, right? It's impact damage against fortified instead of swift. So if his harbingers there stay attacking the wave, he probably leaks like up to 100%.
Yeah, agreed. I think that was pretty lucky, and it's also not a bad scenario for Bonny and Basti, because now that it probably allows them to go 15 without dying 14 or without dying earlier.
Yeah, so maybe just a misplay. Maybe a bad call.
I mean, that's the point. I just didn't see Bonny leaking with the Hydra, with the popped Hydra especially, so like with the popped egg.
I mean, having
Also-
said that though, we said it's a bad call, but look at the economy situation. The worker
Yes.
difference on Adams and Widderson is huge. And
Yeah,
they've
but,
got 200 more fighter value than Basti because they've just been bullying him all game.
But what's the benefit of having more workers when you die on 15?
Well, they need to get there first, right? And
Yes, but I mean, since they didn't even take since Basti and Bonny didn't even take king damage on 12.
yeah.
It's not.
Oh no, they're sending 14. I don't think this is the right play. I think they're both strong on 14. I think they can hold this with what they have and then go 15.
Yeah, that's just odd. Why would they go here?
I guess they're thinking Orchids are too good on 15. But I
No,
mean,
that can't be the case.
Adams has
I mean,
double Kingpin with Vampire on 14. He's not weak. He's got
Yeah, he's
Gate,
got
which
Eat Away
sucks.
from
He's got
Nine.
Infiltrators, which suck. But the double Kingpins are just worth so much on this wave.
yes, and also look at Widderson. I mean, those deep coilers are gonna eat the wave.
Yeah, and they're dead value on 15. So you've sent, between the two waves, 15 is much stronger. Maybe they just think they need to send here so they don't die. Because we are seeing some fairly big sends coming from Adams and Widderson. But I think they're strong here.
Also, a funny thing is that Bonny plays 2 violets against 14.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Because it's not great on 15 either.
I think he just wants to kill off the split on the Haven as fast as possible with the spell.
Yeah, looks like... And it's worked, right? So his Haven's alive.
Yeah. Also, interesting thing to point out, which we haven't, is that Widderson's protector is on his deep coiler.
Yeah, that's a pretty big brain play because look, it's definitely the last thing to get attacked. So Basti leaking, which I guess we expect at this point just because he's been so kept down all game.
Dead.
Yeah, and Widderson does leak, but I mean, that's a small leak and Adams will clear it all up. There's going to be no king damage from this.
Yeah. So I think that
I
14
don't know.
was not the right call.
I don't think 14 was the call. I mean, Bonny held that easily, right? Like, he wasn't close to leaking. So maybe Basti needed the income, but Bonny, I think, he could have afforded to save.
Yes, and even if they leak, as long as they don't drop heavily and give too much gold back, it's still fine. I mean,
Yeah.
look at this. Look at the game state now. They're behind on workers. In Basti's case, also especially behind on workers. They're behind on income. They're behind on everything. Even role wise, they're not as great as the other team. So I just don't like it. Probably the call would have been to just take the hit to the face on 14 and maybe even full push, just to kill them on 15, because that's your only chance.
I think that's what they should have done. I think they need to risk it. When you're behind, you need to make those risky plays as well, right? Because you can't go even with them. If you're behind and you go even, then you stay behind. So you need to take a risk. You need to skip that wave 14 and go for the win on 15.
Yes, agreed. I mean, maybe they thought about that, the fact that Adamus is not that great on 16, but on the other hand, he's got Arc Tear, so that's... I mean, he's got no damage for now, but the Arc Tear is...
Adams has sick damage on 16. As long as those Arc Tears keep the wave off of his Kingpins,
Yeah,
they're going to shred the wave 16 units. And both sides are sending. Bonny and Basti send him for income, so they do want to try and take the game a bit later.
I mean, look at Widderson. Widderson almost, like, he didn't even hold that great. He had 3 deep coilers left.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been just a play.
I mean, the worker difference is just absolutely huge.
Yeah, and it's just going to keep snowballing. Like, Basti's never going to come back into this game, so... I hate to say,
I think Basti needs to suicide push. After they get this send, he just needs to full push.
Yeah, and then when do they send next? 18?
I mean, I guess, right? when else do you go?
17. Like, so that's... I don't know. I don't like it. Maybe you can go 17 and just hope that the wave RNG is bullshit and kills off the deep coilers, and then he's got no damage. But
yeah,
I don't see it. Like, that's the point. I just don't see Adamus and Widderson losing this game. I can't see it.
No, I think that their economy situation is just so far ahead. Bonny has a really good late game role, like a really good late game role.
Yeah,
but Basti doesn't, and he's just so out of this game.
Yeah, Bonny's just capitalizing and just going stronger, but Basti's always going to be dead. Like,
Basti is suicide pushing, so he's going to put all of his gold into workers now, which he needs to do. But he doesn't have any gold to put into workers, so even though he's suicide pushing, he's still going to be on like 20 workers. He's still going to be 10 less than the dams, but with no fighter value.
His suicide push, after he cleared everything he could of the wave, was 2 workers or 2 double workers, so 100 everything he got. Like,
it's not a great position to be in.
No, it for sure is not.
I never like to call a game before it's over, but man, this is close to over.
I mean, I think it was foreseeable at 14. Like, with the send, it just... Basti's too dead to do anything now. I mean, that suicide push for sure is a call, but like, even with him suicide pushing, he's not even reaching the worker count of Adamus and Bonny.
Yeah. He has 28 now at least, so that's something. And Bonny is really strong. Maybe they can make something happen.
But is Bonny really strong on 18? Like,
he is, yeah. He'll have 4 orchids and 4 violets. So if he wants to boost, he can boost. And violets do crazy good damage on 18.
Actually, he needs more rogue waves.
Yeah, you're right. He does. At least one more.
Yeah.
All 4 of Bonny's masks are raging on 18 as well, so bad damage matchup. But when they're raging, they just do stupid damage anyway, especially with those rogue waves.
Yes. But I think the point is that the Haven's going to die on 18, and that's going to be a big worrying sign for Bonny's build, because it's basically his only big tank value, because the infiltrator, I mean, infiltrators do tank good on 18. I guess that won't be the problem.
But that's his protector as well, right? So if it dies fast, then he loses that buff for the rest of his units.
Basti isn't pushing. Basti is at 28 workers and 150 gold.
I'm not sure about that. I think he might have needed the full push. So they've made the call to try and value up, but he's leaking 18 anyway. This comes down to whether Bonny can hold for longer than the dams in Widderson can. Basti's fighters are almost irrelevant on this wave.
Agreed. And even, I mean, if they had king ups, you could maybe play for like reducing the wave down to surviving, but they're on 34% HP and no king ups.
And no king ups. As soon as the wave reaches the king, it's game. So what they needed to do is try to let Bonny hold for as long as possible and try and break a dams in Widderson fast.
Yeah.
And to do that, he needed workers.
Yes, totally agreed. That like he placed the Violet and Pegasus, but there's no point in they won't win the game by holding. They can't win it that way.
Exactly. They need to win the race. And this Kraken against Widderson is a good send. It's going to tank all of these Orchid boosts.
Yes, agreed. But the thing is that Bonny still has just 1 rogue wave, and now...
And we saw what we were worried about over on Bonny. His Haven died really fast against the wave, and then his protector buff is gone, and the rest of his stuff crumbles.
And you can see like Adamus holding that like maybe it doesn't look like he would have leaked to like, I don't know, what about 100 more if Basti full push, but like that's I don't know. Like, I don't think it was the right choice. Like, I mean, maybe it was a silver lining the wave 18, and they thought about it, the miracle saving them. But like, you still gotta make the miracle happen.
Yeah,
So,
they were so behind at that point, right? They were so behind. It would have taken a miracle for them to win. Um,
but like,
how many more workers could Basti have had there? Like 10 more, maybe.
yeah, after
Is
income
that enough to make the dams leak fast enough? Maybe
probably not.
Probably
Not
not.
especially because I mean they even survived probably because they were rather high on King HP. So
Yeah, that was really well played from the dams and Widderson. Like I think we're maybe being a bit too critical of Bonny and Basti. I don't think they made many mistakes. I think they just got slightly outplayed by Dams and Widderson, who made some really good calls this game.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the point isn't that they played it bad, but they didn't take the necessary steps to come back from deficit where they put themselves in. Like I don't blame them
Yeah,
for like, for example, Basti leaking 4 to the reason and 5. Like that can happen. Like it's if he plays greedy, which he did, it can happen. But in this position, you gotta play to win and not to not lose, and that's the point. Like there was no point, for example, in sending 14 because they wouldn't die. I mean, they didn't even leak, but they wouldn't die.
yeah.
Actually, they leaked, but not to the king. My bad. So like that's the point. So they didn't. They just never had a way to come back, or at least they didn't properly try. In my opinion.
They needed to take that risk. They needed to skip 14 and go because they would have had 600, 700 Mythium each, right, on wave 15 because they could have pushed off that wave 14 send. That was their play. They were already behind at that point. They need to take a risk. They need to say, okay, we're going to try and hold wave 14. We know they're sending. We know Basti's leaking. But we need to play risky if we want to win.
And maybe even like full push 14 and just like your Doomsday is gonna tank long enough. Maybe Bonny doesn't have to full push, but Basti would have, and like that I can see them winning the game on 15 by like a small chance, but like with the 14 cent there was no chance.